Good morning. My name is Rowan Van Sleeve. I'm the CFO and president at Hope of the Valley. And this site, it's been a passion project for a long time. I'm so excited to see it come to fruition. You know, a number of years ago, we were driving past here, the founder and CEO of Hope of the Valley and myself, and Ken he ogled the building. There isn't many buildings that he doesn't look at and say, that should be a shelter. But he looked at this site and said, could you imagine if one day we'd run past this building when we do our morning runs through the neighborhood, and we'd look at it and go, maybe one day. And there came a point in the middle of the pandemic where the owners had reached a point with the site being closed that this site was on the market. And we took one look at the price tag on it, and it was insurmountable. This is going to come as a revelation to everyone in the room, but homeless services charities are not flush with cash. This is not a profitable industry. And the pot growers were interested in the building and were all cash offers. And we looked at this site and said, maybe it's a pipe dream. And as you'll hear from Ken in a little while, the Trebek family stood up and they said, we will be a lead gift to do something great. And then this site became a building that the people of Los Angeles built. You can't tell me that the people of Los Angeles don't care about the poor on the streets. You can't tell me that the people of Los Angeles don't want to end homelessness. Because with a lead gift, within a couple of months, Beachbody, a locally grown corporation, stepped up and they said, not only will we match the Trebek family's gift, but we're going to reach out to our friends and families and we're going to raise over $800,000 to make this place a priority. Local churches in this community, led by Shepherd Church, just a local church in this neighborhood, stood up and gave over $250,000 to make this a possibility. Then the entertainment industry, a key part of our great city, they stepped up with Sony Entertainment and the Jeopardy show doing the Tournament of Champions and raising another $250,000. And at that point, we had enough to do a down payment and nothing else. Nothing else at all. And then the mayor and the councilman stood up and said, no, our city want to bring people inside. We want to bring people home. It's immoral to leave people languishing on the streets for permanent housing to be built. And Councilman Lee, I remember your encouragement. In my mind, I call it a threat. You said, this site, this shelter will only happen if it has behavioral health front and center. You need to find a way to have mental health services inside. And we lied to you, sir. We said, absolutely, we know how to do that. But I'm pleased to report this site will be the first of our shelters with full-time behavioral health staff inside the dormitory area, serving our neighbors here in Los Angeles. But this public-private partnership didn't end there. After the city got involved, championing the cause of bringing people home, after corporations stepped up, got behind this, private donors, local churches got behind it, over 1,000 donors across the valley in Los Angeles stood up and gave gifts of all different sizes to make this site possible. Then the foundation stepped in. Ladies and gentlemen, you're in the Trebek Center, a place that the people of Los Angeles built because they believe that there should be hope for those who are living on the street. I'm so proud of being a part of this. I'm so proud of being a part of this city. I'm so proud of what we are doing together. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. And probably one of the great honors of my life, I've known Mayor Garcetti, God, I'm old. I met you wandering the streets of Echo Park when you were running for the first time for the City Council. And I remember your care and compassion that hasn't changed a tad since then. I remember meeting you and seeing tears in your eyes as you saw people languishing on the streets. Ladies and gentlemen, the mayor of our great city, Eric Garcetti.
Thank you so much, Rowan. Thank you for being an angel in the city of angels. You, Ken, Lori, are just, I know government is in charge of, and rightfully so, of doing a lot. But without angels that step forward in this city and help us reflect back what the spirit of this city is, we couldn't do a single thing. And I know that the council member and I are so blessed to be here today. blessed that God woke us up this morning, blessed to have the chance to help others. I was with my daughter at her school a couple weeks ago talking to another class about how City Hall works. And they said, can we ask the mayor's daughter some questions? I was like a little nervous. I'm like, I was trying to keep her out of pictures and keep her away. And her younger classmate says, what's it like being the mayor's daughter? And I'm like, uh-oh, here we go. And she said, it's really great because every day you can help people. And just from a 10-year-old, saying the clearest, strongest, kind of most heartfelt message of why we are placed on this earth made everything crystal clear to me why we're here today. I'm emotional because I'm here in the Valley, where I grew up, where John Lee and I used to take the RTD bus. And if I was lucky, I got to go over to his house long before either of us were elected officials, and he'd tell me which comic books to buy. And I hung on to a couple of those, and they're really valuable now. Original Wolverines I own because of this guy. He gave me some really dud ones that have never gone up either, but he was unloading those. I've skated here. I have memories here. And it would have been a very bitter day if we were just here saying that this is gone now, and the memories are gone. But you took bitterness and made it so sweet by being able to transform this, to see the actual wood where we used to have memory after memory. Ken and I were joking, a lot of first kisses, no first kisses here for me, but probably a lot of broken limbs and other things that happened. But it's where family came together, and there's such rich memory that is here. And when you think about those high moments of families and of human beings, we're now going to take people at their lowest moments, and this will be a place to rebuild their lives. You counted, as I always do when I drive through the streets of my city, I counted the number of unhoused neighbors just right around here that we saw, the tents under every underpass. I do feel some hope this year. I do see the thinning out of places that have been more and more compressed, but we've got a lot of work still left to do. It's not work that a city government can do on our own. As we were discussing, we don't have a Department of Mental Health, which is why having an agency that figured out a way to put mental health here directly on your own is such a game changer too. And when we see someone who steps up in the midst of the deepest bitterness you can have, the loss of the love of your life, and be here to celebrate two Trebeks and the Trebek family who stepped up to say, if we lead, we know people will follow, to have that faith in yourself. I hope that we can not only remember through the sadness and through the tears, but smile through them, the most marvelous transformations that we will see right here. There will be 107 beds of hope here. And when you go inside, you'll see it is beautiful. I know sometimes people say, oh, congregate shelters are bad. This is a beautiful place with privacy, with inspiration, and with communion. Because for a lot of people who are out on the streets, it's true, some people want to go into a tiny home, and we've got those. Other people have to be in a place with extremely deep services and their own apartment, and that's the goal. Sometimes we have to provide that. We can't just get people on their own. But there are people who want to be around people, who say to us, I'd rather be around folks. That's why encampments become little villages, because they become communities. These are human beings that form relationships with folks, depend on each other for survival. But imagine having to do that in here now, where you don't have to worry about where the meal is coming from, where you don't have to worry about whether you're going to be safe at night, where you don't have to worry about whether or not you'll get the care that you need to transform whatever trauma that you're living with that took you to the streets. I want to thank John Lee and the staff of Council District 12, because while we can set a vision from the mayor's office and hustle for the dollars from the state and even in our own budget, if we don't have council members who step up and council offices that do all the blocking and tackling, maybe that's the wrong metaphor, because I learned from my predecessor, Jackie Goldberg, he said, you can't dismiss people's fear. It comes from a real place. So when a community has fear, you have to understand what that fear is and talk them through it and walk them through it till you arrive at a place with support. And I want to thank the community members who are here, who were willing to listen. Some of you were willing to lead from the very beginning on faith. Others, rightfully so, asked the right questions and made sure this was better. But it was a council member with the courage and a council office with the hard work that made this happen. So let's give them a round of applause and thank them for making that happen. This is our city's 28th Bridge Home Shelter. It's campaign season, and I used to love campaigns. Thank God I'm not in one right now, because I can watch everybody else running for mayor. And we make promises during campaigns. They're very important moments. They're markers. And I like that people are stretch goals of how far we can go in the next administration. I want to leave kind of that behind and pass a warm baton to my successor, and for him or for her to be able to have that ambition that we established when we said, hey, what if we try to do 15 of these? 15 of these we were going to do over a 3-year period. And now 28 later, a reflection of this city council and of this city and of our partners, we aren't going to stop, because we're not going to end this fight until every Angelino who is unhoused has a place to sleep at night and to turn her or his life around. Case management, job training, housing navigation, references to childcare. All these things are critical, and everybody's a different combination lock. But, you know, we live in this era where it's one click everything, instantaneous. So people are like, end homelessness right now, and I want it delivered by 3 p.m. this afternoon. But you think about the things that are important in your life, a marriage, a life lived together, the raising of a child, a career. These things all take time. And I don't want Los Angeles to lose its impatience. I'm impatient. You should be impatient. But we also need to hold both impatience and patience. Because if this was so easy to solve, if this was just things that happened overnight and you could resolve overnight, this problem wouldn't have persisted here and throughout our nation in the way that it has. Prop HHH, the voters passed, is coming in 2 years early, 1,000 units more and 15,000 less per unit, so that we can have referrals out of here into permanent supportive housing, where people will have those ongoing services and a permanent place to live. Housing vouchers in record numbers, thanks to the President and the Congress, our governor and our legislature. Opportunities to buy hotels and apartment buildings that are part of Project Home Key, thanks to Governor Newsom. We now have more tools than we've ever had, and our city budget has gone from $10 million to over $1 billion, $1.1 billion in the budget this city council is about to approve and that I propose to them. Housing solves homelessness, and a bed is the start. So thank you for making this happen. I'll give a quick soundbite in Spanish and then I'll get the heck off this stage. Muy brevemente también en español yo quiero decir, este es un gran día por la ciudad de Los Ángeles. Toda la gente de Los Ángeles merecen un hogar, merecen la esperanza, merecen una nueva oportunidad. Y con este refugio tenemos más camas, más servicios y parte de una estrategia finalmente atraer toda la gente a su nuevo hogar. Y gracias a Hope of the Valley y concejal John Lee y su equipo y la familia Trebek por sus regalos a esta comunidad. Y gracias a la comunidad por su apoyo también, porque sin su apoyo es imposible a construir estos refugios que necesitamos. Y la familia de la ciudad, todos los departamentos, gracias por su trabajo también. Este es el refugio número 28, nuevo refugio en la ciudad de Los Ángeles, solamente en 3 años, en cada distrito de la ciudad de Los Ángeles. Gracias por su visión y adelante juntos. And with that, I will toss it back, I think, to Rowan. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
You know, people always want to pull politicians down. But both the council member and the mayor inherited probably the hardest tenure that you could ever imagine. A global pandemic, ongoing, never-ending water shortages, an incredibly divided city and nation. And on top of that, a humanitarian crisis that is the greatest in my lifetime. We have a housing shortage, a mental health disaster while people languish on the streets. And you are both incredible leaders, and we are so thankful for what you've done. Councilman Lee, your district stands head and shoulders above anything that could be expected. When you came forth and you gave your support to make the Trebek Center possible, groups like SoCal Gas, who are here, stood up to support us. Groups like DoorDash, not only supporting local restaurants, but they said, if you buy from local restaurants in this area, we will give you $5,000 in DoorDash credit to feed the people at this site on those moments we just don't have enough food. That support continued on from Shepherd Church, Paula's here, on and on and on throughout the community. Your district genuinely cares. Let me tell you a little quick story of Councilman Lee. Me and Councilman Lee became friends just before he was elected. He was entering the primary season in the special election, and I remember I asked him, what does a shelter in his district looks like? And he looked me very clearly in the eyes and he said, it's going to involve everyone in this community having a voice. And I don't know the countless number of meetings you've had. I don't know what sort of magic and voodoo you did to navigate all the city departments, the local city council, community groups, neighborhood councils, and the ones and twos who are so vested here. But it taught me a lot about leadership. It taught me how to bring people into the conversation. You are truly a leader, and I'm so thankful for what you've done here. And I promise you, sir, that vision you had for a site that was going to be excellent in moving people from a moment of crisis into stability and permanent housing, because of your leadership, we have it. Because of the people in the community who follow you and your leadership, you have it right here at the Trebek Center. Ladies and gentlemen, Councilman John Lee.
So first of all, I know what all of you are saying. You're saying there's no way they went to school together. Councilman Lee looks so much younger than the mayor. But it is true. Eric and I did go to junior high school together. Today we're here because so many people came together to make this happen. The city, Hope of the Valley, members of the community that we talked about, and of course, the great Alex Trebek and his wife Jean, their family, and their amazing donation. I don't need to tell anybody the crisis that we're facing, but I really believe by the opening of this shelter, we are taking the necessary sort of footsteps to combat what is happening on our city streets. What you see here today should be a model of what we are building throughout the city of Los Angeles. I have a real special thank you to my community. Thank you so much. When I went out and talked to you about building this here, this was a landmark in our community. I've been skating here. The first time I skated here was 1978. The community, the thought of not just having a shelter here, but losing something that was so incredibly valuable to us with so many incredible memories was not an easy pill for people to swallow. And then putting a shelter here, like the mayor said, they obviously have certain concerns. And, we went out to the community because I had the word of Rowan and Ken that this is going to include all the different services, all the wraparound services. When you come here, if you are suffering from some sort of behavioral mental crisis, we would have people here to help you. If you needed a job and need job training, that was a component that we were going to have here. So when I went out to you, and I see so many of you out here today in the audience, and I promised you that this would include this. You had to put your trust in me. But I'm telling you, Mr. Rick, adding Alex's name and your family name just gave it all the more sort of that validity that my community could get behind. When they knew that the Trebek family was stepping up to put their time and resources behind this project, I think that gave them a little bit of a sense of comfort. Having a family like theirs be involved with a project like this is a partnership that we know we cannot let fail. And to Rowan and Ken, thank you so much. I remember, Rowan, when we met before the campaign, I was trying to get your endorsement at the time. But you also made me promise. You also made me promise that if elected, that I would make the commitment to do more. This community had no housing when I took office. And this is one of the steps where we're going to, by next year, have somewhere, if everything, all the different projects we're working on, maybe close to 400 beds in 2 years. That's 400 people that we're going to help get off the streets and then help them get permanent supportive housing. And then there's another 400 people that we're going to be able to help. But Rowan and Ken, I hope I kept my promise to, support good projects that my community could get behind. And having toured this the other day, I see that you've taken the first steps in doing that. And so thank you so much for your commitment. You are two people, and the entire Hope of the Valley team. I shouldn't say you're two people. You're two people with an army behind you that truly do care about the people of the city. And as someone who is elected to represent those people, having people who are those force multipliers doing good in my community, you know, that's what we all need as electeds. And you guys are both those things. You and your staff are those people. And so thank you so much. A special thank you to the mayor, my old friend, Mayor Garcetti, the CAO's office, Matt Szabo, Gary Lee Moore, the Bureau of Engineering, for all their help in making today possible. But again, thank you to this community. Thank you for believing in us. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. We will not let you down. This is going to be something that in a year from now, maybe you drive by it and you notice it or you don't notice it because you've been here today. But I promise you that you will all feel that fear will have gone away, and you will really truly see this site as a jewel of our community. And so thank you very much, everybody, for being here.
You know, there's a lie in this city that the city doesn't build things, and when they do, it takes forever. That has been completely dispelled in the rise to the challenge of the humanitarian crisis that is homelessness on our streets. I met so many of the folk at BOE, and the thing that is universal is they count projects to come into completion in days. In days. They look at it, how can we make this just that bit quicker, but under budget? And because of BOE's leadership, this site is now complete. Steve Weiss, who was our project manager, worked tirelessly, shortened his life dramatically because of his hard work. PLC, Valerie, our architect, who designed something incredibly innovative. And I'll point out one of Valerie's designs. In one of our previous shelters we worked on together, I asked, why are all of the lights always cockeyed and off-skew? And he said, so many of the people that you care for have been institutionalized through the mental health system, the prison system, the foster care system, and every single one of those government buildings has straight lines of lights. This site has been designed under the direction of BOE and is only here because of BOE's commitment to get it done. Now, I must say, First Republic Bank stepped out in faith on us and helped us finance a lot of this only because they saw your name as the one who's going to make sure it was done and done right. Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Moore.
I'm very much humbled by the introduction, and I just want to say, when the mayor came to me a few years ago and said, what do you think about building temporary homeless housing? I said, I'm all in. I'm all in. And I've had the pleasure to work with Councilman Lee in many, many projects, and I so much appreciate your leadership and commitment to everything we do. And there's nothing more important that we do right now than to assist in building this important housing. And I just really want to compliment Hope of the Valley, because it's hard enough to provide services, but then take on the challenge of building. And, you know, one of the things the mayor has said to us is he wants it to be seamless when people want to build. And that's what we tried to do and provide to you, was the coordination with our Board of Public Works and our President, Aura Garcia, is here today, and with our Department of Building and Safety and our City Administrative Officer and all the inspections that are involved. It was, we're here to help you to deliver this in days and not think of it in months. And so we're just so pleased here. And you know, it's initially 107 people, but these people move into permanent homeless housing. And there will be another 107 and another 107. And it's just so rewarding to the day that we end homelessness. And so thank you so much for letting us participate. And it's a beautiful facility. Congratulations.
I always love Gary's speeches because they're always the shortest. That's why you're so popular. Councilman Lee, you were 100% right. Ken or myself, very, very little of Hope of the Valley is actually us. We do a lot of the silliness in front of cameras and running stupid fundraisers. But there's a few people here, the staff of Hope of the Valley, affectionately known as Hopies, who work tirelessly to get stuff done. Steve Morse, who's here, he's hiding in the background saying, can this ribbon cutting finish so we can just get this place clean and move people in? He may be cursing at this point, it's gone on too long. Laurie Kraft, who oversees all of our services, ensures that everything is delivered with dignity, love, and respect. And as Mayor, you say, angels in the city of angels, above any of us, surely is Laurie. Laurie can tell stories of bounty hunters showing up, looking for people, flashing badges they bought at 99-cent stores, people having psychotic breakdowns in the restroom and just desperately crying out while there's no mental health services. Laurie, what you do to make Hope of the Valley hope is phenomenal. Sharon Somoza, who's here, she'll be running all of our congregant shelters. Phenomenal woman, delivering services to people on the front line. And then maybe one of the biggest things, the people beyond who are on staff at Hope of the Valley, we have our chairwoman, Teresa Jackson, and so often the board is forgotten. You can parade around the staff all you want. But the difference with the board of directors at Hope of the Valley is who Teresa Jackson is. I didn't know this about her, but she is an avid skater and a big wheel in the roller skating community. I didn't know there was a roller skating community, and I was corrected forcefully. It was kind of like when you encouraged us to have mental health at the front. We were about $750,000 short on this project. Lo and behold, inflation affects us too. And Teresa saw that challenge, and before this site started construction, she brought almost 1,000 people inside to skate one last time. She raised over $10,000 to make this place possible. Not only does she lead the board, but she leads in giving to make this place possible. And we're so thankful for that leadership, again, in your council district. We're so thankful for that. Hope of the Valley does have a great staff, and I'm really honoured and lucky to be a part of it, but probably my best friend in the world runs it. He's completely insane. He believes that we have to bring every single person off the street and give them an opportunity to live their best lives. So much so that when we were faced with a shortfall, before measuring how far Death Valley is away, really stupid, I'm an accountant, you measure first. Ken came up with the idea, well, if we're $750,000 short, let's run 250 miles to try to fill that gap. He put himself physically, emotionally in this project every single day, and then turned around and ran that entire journey while taking calls on the road, on the side of the 14 freeway, getting so close to getting hit. We had a fundraising plan just in case you were hit by a truck. Ken was able to raise another $400,000. Ladies and gentlemen, my boss, my best friend, please give him the biggest applause because he's the one who decides what I get paid next year. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Kraft.
Thank you. And before I say the few words that I'm going to share, I'm going to ask that Teresa Jackson would come up here and Laurie would come on up here. Because not only are these two very beautiful women inside and out, they're really, our board chair and our chief programs officer. And I got to be honest, as a CEO, I tend to come up with a lot of ideas and things we should do. But then once I kind of get them started, I'm on to the next one. And my wife will say, yeah, I have to run them. I've got to make it happen. And, and board chair has to convince the board that, we actually need 3 more shelters and another. And so to be able to have this incredible support is really what makes it happen. And so as we stand here today, next Tuesday, the first residents experiencing homelessness will come through these doors next Tuesday. And this center will be a life transformation center, a chance for people to get a second chance in life, to get renewed dreams, their vision ignited, to start over. And as Hope of the Valley, we're 13 years old in August, and I'm incredibly grateful for where we've come. And we do have 15 shelters, about 1,500 beds. We're in escrow on 4 hotels for another 600 to 800 beds for mostly moms and kids, for families. But as I think about, where we've come from, I'm driven by a passion to execute a plan to get people off the streets. We can't leave people on the streets. Now, I would love it if LA had an abundance of affordable housing, more than we needed, but we don't. And it takes time and it takes resources to build that. And we at Hope of the Valley say the streets can't be the waiting room for permanent housing. We've got to bring people indoors. And this really became real and apparent to me in December. In December, Rowan and I decided to live 100 hours unsheltered on the streets of Los Angeles. We had to give up control, and that meant we turned in our wallets and took everything, and we had just the jackets on our back. And it was the day that the Pacific Storm was coming in, December 13th. Now, I also had to give up the control of what was going to happen and how it was going to happen. I would have selected 3 p.m. as the time to send us out so we could make provisions before the rain started at 6 p.m. But no, the gentleman who filmed Intervention said, I will coordinate this. He waited till 7 p.m. The rain had started. They dropped us off at an undisclosed location and said, good luck. And for 100 hours, we had $5 each to our name. We had to make it. The first night, we slept in dirt underneath the freeway. I was so cold. It was 38 degrees. I was ready to tap out at 4 a.m. I don't normally cuss. I was cussing, okay? And saying, this is the stupidest thing I could have ever done. And I was ready to, and he's like, come on, man, you can do it, you can do it. And so we walked to a donut shop, and I spent half of my $5 on the best cup of coffee I've ever had in my life. It gave me life. I walked across the street to Taco Bell to use their bathroom. Then I walked to a Starbucks. They wouldn't let me plug my phone in because too many homeless people are plugging their phones in. And for the next week, it was all about survival. What am I going to eat? Where am I going to sleep? How do I protect myself? I could not have held down a job in that state of mind. We had mental acuity tests before and after, and there was this slippage. If I showed you a visual image, which I keep on my phone, of what I looked like on the last day, I looked like I had been homeless for years. The toll that it took upon me physically. And I left that little experiment. I was a tourist into homelessness because I knew on Friday night I'm going home and I'm going to bed in my bed. But for those that live with constant fear, I don't know if I'm ever going to get out of this. There wasn't beds before. Thank you, Mayor, in 2018 declaring a shelter emergency so that, thank God, we can have facilities like this. This would not have been possible before 2018 because you could only have 30 beds or less. You couldn't be in a manufacturing building, but here we are, a repurposed building. So as we stand here today, let me just say, as we spent this week on the streets, my conclusion was this: it's nearly impossible to stay sober, sane, and safe living unsheltered on the streets. And the streets are not a habitation for anybody. We must bring people indoors, whether it's through interim housing such as this, or permanent housing, or permanent supportive housing, or affordable housing. I'm agnostic when it comes to the intervention. Let's just get people off the streets and get them the help that they need. So this site right here is a godsend. It is a blessing. And I'm going to try to keep it short, but I got to say thank you to a few people. First, Dave and Mike Fleming. Would you guys stand up for a moment? These are the owners of Skateland. And we want to say thank you. Letting go of this building, I know, was hard for both of you. And yet you did, and you believed and trusted our words that we would create a legacy to honor you and your father and your mother. And so thank you. And this roller rink floor right here will be a constant reminder of better days. So thank you very much. I also want to thank, of course, Mayor, Councilman, and the BOE. I mean, I can't thank Joyce I see sitting here, who's just been on us every week. You're going to stay on task. You're going to stay on budget. Here we go. She's tough, but she's making it happen. Thank you, Joyce. And I want to thank Valerie. Valerie, raise your hand back here. Valerie, our architect, and when you're going to walk around and see he designed this, thank you, Valerie. Steve Weiss, our project manager. Raise your hand back there, Steve, so everyone sees who Steve is. Facilitating things on our end. And PCL, I don't know, do we have anybody here from PCL, the general contractor? You guys, thank you. You built an incredible facility. And I want to thank our board of directors, and Rowan already touched on all the donors that made this happen in the community. And so as we stand here today, we're going to wrap this up in just a moment. But this would have never happened, as Rowan said, if I hadn't received a phone call one day in 2020. I was sitting at my desk in Pacoima, and I get a phone call, and I answer it. And someone on the other line says, "Hello, is this Ken Kraft?" I said, "Yes." He says, "This is Alex Trebek. I hear you're building a shelter in North Hollywood. I'd like to come see it." I mean, how many people get a phone call from Alex Trebek out of the blue? Come on. And in my mind, I'm debating, is this like Alex Trebek from Jeopardy? Or is this Alex Trebek from Pacoima? You know, I don't know, who is this? But I'm not going to miss the chance. So I said, "I'll meet you there tomorrow at 9 a.m. And I remember Laura and I were there, was like, do you think it's really him? I don't know. But I was too embarrassed to ask, on the phone, "Are you the guy from Jeopardy?" So I was going to take my chance and see who shows up. And sure enough, this big old Ram truck comes pulling up, okay, in a ball cap and his jeans, and he gets out and he introduces himself, and I gave him a tour of the site, and I said, "Hey, well, by the way, since you're out, would you like to see the navigation center too?" And I took him to the navigation center, and he goes, "Ken, can I be honest with you? I ended up taking nighttime cold medicine before I left. And my wife said I probably should have rescheduled, but I really didn't want to break my commitment to come." And he says, "I think I need to go home and go to bed." He goes, "I'll be in touch with you." He left. Well, I meet with a lot of donors, and some you connect with, some you don't. 1 week went by. 2 weeks went by. He didn't reach out to me. 3 weeks went by. I didn't hear from Alex. I thought, oh, well, maybe it just wasn't his thing. After 3 weeks, Alex calls me. "Hi." And he said, "Ken," and he asked some very pointed questions about our finances and how we operate our business. And I said, "Would it help you if I sent you our audited financials?" He goes, "Yes." And I sent them to him. He calls me back and said, "Ken, I'd like you to come to my house tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I said, "Yes, sir." Who doesn't want to go to Alex Trebek's house, right? Come on, I want to go to Alex's house. Went there. He sat me down in his library, his office, and on his desk was our audited financials. Highlighted, notated, and he says, "I see, you guys raise your own money too through, your thrift stores." I said, "Yeah," and he kind of walked me through the reason, and he asked how much I made. He goes, "It's important to me because I want to make sure the money's getting to the front line to those that need it." And then he handed us the first of 2 incredibly generous gifts that the Trebek family gave us. But it was the second gift after we started, and I met Gene for the first time, and we toured the site in North Hollywood. Then we went to the Van Nuys site. And after we were done, it was just great to be able to meet them and give the tour. She handed me a check for $500,000. And I'm like, "What is this? You guys already gave money." And they said, "We believe in the work that you're doing. And we can't just drive by and pretend that homelessness isn't an issue. It is. And we believe in the work you're doing, and we want to invest into this work." And that really began the relationship, this ongoing relationship. And then unfortunately, Alex passed away before I was able to tell him. We actually entered escrow. But I know Alex is seeing and hearing right now. And I live with a sense of passion to make Alex proud. That he will see this and realize that his legacy will live on through the many, many lives that will be transformed through this building that bears his name. And so I want to thank everybody for being here, and I want to introduce someone who I'm so proud to call friend along with her children. I want to introduce to you Jean Trebek.
Well, this certainly is a beautiful morning, and I have chills listening to every speaker here this morning, and I'm in awe of the amazing teamwork that it took to create this center. So first of all, my heartfelt congratulations to the entire Hope of the Valley team and the myriad of people it took to bring this center into fruition. Being part of this wonderful establishment is really a blessing for me, because I'm constantly inspired to be more, to do more, to give more, and also to align my perception with the power of love. And you know, first this center was first an idea in the name of love. And then there was a lot of dialogue and talk about this center, all in the name of love. And finally, action was taken to bring this center into fruition, all in the name of love. Ken and Laurie Kraft are beautiful examples of being a force for good in the world. And that is why Alex and I so championed, admired, appreciated, and supported them and their vision. Somehow, some way, I know Alex is aware of this center. I know he had a strong conviction and a determination in his own way to make it work. We all know that homelessness is complicated. There's no single pathway to the streets. There's no single intervention that ends homelessness. But there is a single remedy, and it's called love. Supporting another is loving another. And the transformational power of support will surely be known at this site. So God bless every single person who walks through this door. Whether you are a giver or a receiver, it's all the same. May countless lives be renewed and uplifted by the power of love demonstrated here today and always. Thank you so much.
I'll tell you a funny story. Just after we got to know you and your family, someone came up to me and said, I met Jean. She's so nice. What's she really like? And I go, it's even worse. She's even nicer. The entire Trebek family, Nikki and Matt who aren't here, Nikki who's here, Emily and Matt who aren't, and Jean, thank you so much. Not just for your incredible generosity, but your leadership. You know, this is truly a place that LA built, a place called Hope, a place that people believe restoration can happen, but there's so many people, and we've thanked so many, because it's not just one person. So many people did so much to make this happen, but none of it would have started without you believing in a place called Hope. Thank you so much. That concludes our press conference part of it. We need to do a ribbon cutting, because what's a ribbon cutting without a ribbon cutting? What will happen is Grace, who's in the front here, she's going to wave her hand. She's going to walk all the press through the back door here on the right-hand side. The dignitaries at the front, Ken's going to lead you through the back door here, and we will cut some ribbons. Thank you so much.